signed in, that is now in the chat. The sign-in sheet is in the chat, so you can get access to it there. And I'll go ahead and share my screen. So for this presentation, I have a slideshow, which is a little different than most of my sessions because usually I walk you through something. But all right, so PBL is project-based learning, and this is how I've researched several articles and online how to make this work while teaching online, while the kids are at home, because project-based learning is usually done in the classroom, collaborating, working with other students and on a project. So this is one way you can do it while you're teaching virtually. So if you're unfamiliar with it, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what it is. It is when students learn by engaging in real world problems or questions, and they use a project to solve the problem or answer the question. And why we should use this model? Because it usually involves working collaboratively, communicating effectively with others, thinking critically, and being creative. So it's using those 4 C's that you've probably heard about, which is good in every subject, every job position, just about, that will help them in the long run. All right, so how is this going to work remotely? So the main keys are going to be using well-planned preparations and using a clear sense of purpose, highly collaborative, socially engaging lessons, making sure those are equitable, and making sure the lesson is transformative. All right, so we're going to take a closer look at what well-planned preparations looks like. I used a lot of visuals in this. I'm a visual learner, so hopefully this will help you as well for those of you that are visual learners, but I'll also be talking through it. So some of those things that you need to make sure that even before you start your project is making sure that that your students have prior knowledge, and you can tap into that prior knowledge by using videos. You can use surveys. You can use images. So any of those things like that to try to get them to just be thinking about whatever the topic you're going to be looking into is. What do they already know? And then the next thing you want to do is start to build on that knowledge. And ways you can do that is start direct instruction, using that content and teach it directly to them. You can use stories, you can use articles, you can use analogies. So this is a box of chocolates. So that's what I used there. And then you're still working on that before the project even begins, before you even introduce the project to them, is you keep consolidating, keep reintroducing those key concepts to your students before you even get into the project itself. So keep reinforcing that so that that content, what are those key concepts, what you want them to learn, gets placed into their long-term memory instead of just, okay, here's a key term and then they forget about it. So keep using it, keep reinforcing it in some way or another. You can do that with just practice, and it could be with cards, it could be, through Pear Deck. We have those, the Pear Deck where you can do the vocabulary Pear Deck, things like that, or just in your other lessons and use those terms and concepts through like little mini lessons that lead up to the project. And then you also want to get them practicing working independently. And yes, they've been doing a lot of that, but you also need to teach what that looks like. So a lot of this, hopefully you have been doing a lot of teaching in small groups and teaching maybe one-on-one with your students, but also teach them how to work independently and not just to get something done, but working on something that takes a little bit more than just um, like a worksheet. So giving those like little mini things that they're able to do on their own, um, using those critical skills and creative thinking, not quite a big project, but just little mini things that help build that so that they persist on something. And then you want to give them a survey. So all of the concepts, all of the things that you've been building on, are they ready for the project itself? You can do that with a survey. You can do it through discussions, small group discussions, in-class discussions. Well, not in class, but when you have your kids in synchronous time, you can do it that way. All right, so what does it look like when you're using a clear sense of purpose? Of course, timing is everything, so you don't want to give your students, you start preparing them, and then like 2 days before Christmas break, okay, we're going to get started on the project, have it done after Christmas. So go ahead and give them that break because they will need, they've had all this information given to them. Go ahead and give them that break. And then when you come back from that break, then you can start like actually working on the project and then give them that time to work on that after that. So timing is everything. And I'm not saying that you have to do it this way. You can even just wait until after the break to even get started on everything because project-based learning usually isn't something that's done in a few days. It is something that is usually more drawn out, few weeks, a month. Some teachers even go like the whole semester, the whole 9 weeks. So it's up to you. Depends on the age of your students, the development of your students, things like that. Um, and then start to make those connections. How does it connect to real world problems? How does it connect to things in their environment? It doesn't have to be on a global scale. It could be within your community, within their own family. So start to make the connections. So those inquiry questions, how is it going to bring them a part of the project? So get their interest there. And I really like this one when it talks about empathy. So um, again, it's making those connections like, where does this question lead? How does it affect them? How does it affect others? How is this going to help the community? How is it going to help others if we solve this problem together? And then, of course, you want to think about choice. You do want to give them choices when they're building their project or working on their project, but give them something within a realm versus, so you want to give them choices, but you don't want to give them the entire candy store to shuffle through those kind of choices. So do limit it, but not too much. All right, so then moving on to highly collaborative and socially engaging. And this is the part where I'm a little more familiar with and that I can help you with here. And that's taking a look at your tech tools. What are you going to be using to bring this to your students? And some of those tools are going to be, of course, Google Meet, Google Classroom, Kami, Flipgrid, we have Blocksy, and we have Jamboard. And I'm not saying that's the only tools that you can look at. There are other tools out there. There's Padlet. There's a bunch of other tools that you can use that I didn't list here. If you want to use those too, just make sure that they are school approved and that it meets all the FERPA and COPA, SIPA rules and regulations that we have in place to keep our kids safe. And that way they can still engage with each other. They can still talk to each other, things like that, collaborate and communicate with each other for these projects. And they can use of course, Google Meet. You know how they've introduced the break breakout rooms so that they can work together in those. The only drawback to that is that you can't see what the kids are doing. So you use that as at your discretion. You know, your kids, your ages, how long you want them to be in that, or you may want to just sit in there with them, but not maybe turn off your camera, let them know that you're available, kind of like you would be in the classroom at a table nearby where they're working on their project. With Google Classroom, you can turn on that feature where they can communicate with each other. It will bog down your stream, so just keep that in mind. With Cami, this one is a great one because everything that they put on Cami, whether it's they're sharing videos together or notes together, it is all going to be recorded, and they can submit that, kind of be like their notes that they take while they're working on that project together. And then another one, of course, is Flipgrid, where they're going to be using videos to communicate with each other. So this might be better for like the closer to the end product. And Blocksy, of course, also has where you can do groups and they can work together in those groups. Jamboard is the whiteboard that I've shown some of you who attended that session. It's a interactive online whiteboard where they can share notes, they can share the same link and work together on the whiteboard. And then the next section on here is how are you going to support your little executives, because they are now in this process where they're working on their own. You do want to set up clear goals and expectations, the objectives for the lesson that you want them to work on, but you also want to scaffold it, especially for those kids who really need it. And then, of course, when you're talking about like revisions and things like that, what do they need to do if they need to go back and draw it out, things like that, a clear set of rules and visions, things like that. So give them the supports that they would need to make this project work. This one, yes, let them be kids in as safe as possible way as you can. And it's really hard to do that right now because of our environment, but they really need that social interaction. So let them talk. If they get a little bit off track and they start talking about, Christmas is coming up, things like that, let them get off a little track. But also this next one, let them know when it is time to come back to the main class and get back to work or stop whatever they need to be doing and get back to you. And so have those signals, establish those routines and rituals, and put those in place. And this bottom one here is assigning roles and goals for each of the students in the group. So who's going to be doing what in the group so that everybody has a chance to make a fair contribution to the project. All right. And also online is, when we're doing this online, is making sure that that's equitable. A lot of times students don't all have the same things. Hopefully they all have a Chromebook, which helps with the technology piece of it. But do all students have pencils, crayons, markers, tag board, things like that that they might need for as far as building parts of the whatever project they're working on? Do they need to come pick things up from the school? Are they going to be able to pick up things from the school? Things like that. So make sure that they all have the materials, or if they do need materials, make sure that is something that they would be able to acquire and inexpensively. And then try not to make it this project after hours. Give them that time during class time, so during school time, to work on it. A lot of times, especially whenever we were in class session, these PBLs were done after school, things like that. But with the way things are right now, um, it is a little harder to get things done after school hours, because then I don't know, it's just different. And I know even with my own kids, it's harder to work on school stuff outside of school time, because yeah. So give them that class time to work on the project. And then that also gives you time to give them some feedback during that time. If they're working on it in class, you could be right there to say, um, you're doing a great job. It's, give them that time to uh, fix things. So go back and revise. And this little thing right here is an incentive, because many times students don't like to go back and revise things, but this is really an important part of PBL, is working on those revisions to make the project better. So some kind of incentive, uh, and that's going to have to be virtual, so maybe like a sticker board or something like that that they would enjoy, maybe even a few minutes extra time working on a coding program or something that they would like, that you could give them as an incentive. All right, and what does that look like when it's transformative? And I took this quote off one of the articles that I was reading. It says, "Great projects can define a year and transform a life. They develop attitude and character as well as knowledge." And so she's saying, she's like, I'm making my community better. So whatever project she worked on, um, it can, those PBLs have some kind of impact that, not just for that one time. So you can get a lot of different ideas from, and that's, oops, I had one more. So, but we'll not quite there. So let's go back to, leave it as this one. Let's see. So here are just some elements that to think about. I didn't put these in my slides, but this is a really good website to go to get some more ideas of what PBL looks like, what it should have in it. And so it has like the design elements as far as what the students need to have and what you need to have as a teacher when you're teaching PBL. And there's some sample projects here. So I really like the sample projects. They don't give you the entire thing, but you can take a look at them. So let's go ahead and look at one. And so this one says it's for grades 3 to 6, and it is free, but you do have to sign up for it, and you can register for free, which I have not done. But it gives you an overview of the project, and you can get a lot more projects if you just sign up for PBL Works. There's a whole bunch more in here. If I go here, you can go by subject area, grade levels, Common Core standards, ELA, math, in GSS, which is science, and in CSS. Any questions about project-based learning so far? Oh, okay, nothing yet. You can put it in the chat, or there's not too many of us. If you want to go ahead and unmute, you can ask a question that way. So if you want, there's this website, PBL Works, but there's also a lot of articles from Edutopia. And that's where I got a lot of the information that was on the slides. So there's some more information there, but PBL Works there. And that's all I have for this. I actually went through that really a lot faster than I thought I was going to. So if you have any questions, please ask so I can go back over anything and kind of help you out there. No, none. All right. Well, then I guess I should thank you for attending my session, even though it was only about 20 minutes. Let's see, I heard something in the chat. Just a thanks. All right. I hope I didn't go too quickly on this, but that you got something good out of it.
Anita, I thought you were going to show some more. Sorry, so I was kind of waiting. Do you have any other sites that might give some ideas as to what we could also do for the PBL?
As far as projects?
Mm-hmm.
This one so far, but if I find some more, I'll definitely shoot them your way.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, ma'am.